It's been long enough. Oh, welcome everybody. Welcome to What the Book, the book club that reads terrible books, self-published books mostly, off of the internet, so that you don't have to. And we review them for you so that you can move on with your life, knowing that you did not take the decision to read these awful books. And we've read some crackers. This week's book was it was no different, really. It was beautiful. It's called My Antifa Lover, A Riot of the Heart, a Steamy Romance Against Fascism. I mean, already it is making some big ass promises,
Two
this book.
two colons as well, like two subtitles, like A Riot of the Heart,
Yes.
Steamy Romance Against Fascism. That's
Yeah.
quite.
I don't see. No, I don't feel like it's spoilers, but I don't think the romance was steamy, and there was absolutely no fascism in there.
Yeah. We will come on to the promises this book makes in a bit. This is by Jessica Stranger. Don't know how you pronounce it. And this we purchased for the bargain price on Kindle of £2.30. And let me tell you, it was worth about 30 pence for that.
Sorry if you're watching this, Jessica.
Touching remarks early on.
I'm sorry. I've tried to be like with this book, like, no, she sounds like she's really young. So maybe she was writing it for like a American equivalent of GCSE project. But actually, I got to the point of like, no, I'm sorry, I am beyond being patient with you now. This is just terrible. So, the blurb on Amazon is a young congresswoman falls in love with a daring masked protester in Seattle, Washington. After encountering him at a non-violent burning down of a federal building, she can't tell what is hotter, the fire or her feelings developing for him. So, my first question is, how does this book stack up against the blurb?
Okay.
Liz, go on. You start.
Who?
Oh, Liz, are you cupping your breast or removing a rat?
In the top, and it. There we go. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so somebody talk about something other than Liz's boobs.
There we go. Which are hurting at the moment because yay pregnancy.
What did we just say?
I'm really disappointed because it does not once mention Antifa the entire time. It's not a steamy romance. It's not. I would not even constitute him a lover. It's a very platonic. They don't even kiss until like 80% of the way through.
Very end, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not steamy, and it's not. When you think lover, you think tryst, and it's nah. And also, it makes me worried if that's who Congress is run by.
I have a lot of questions about Congress generally.
Yeah.
Generally.
I don't know loads about how the American political system works, but
then neither does this
accurate, then I'm worried.
Yeah.
Well, so you said if it was a GCSE project, I'm pretty sure that their GCSE teacher would have told them off for a lot of that's like a D at best. Because GCSE doesn't care about the plot. What they care about is your punctuation and spelling.
And there was none. Paul, what did you think about how does this stack up against the blurb?
So didn't the blurb mention something about a peaceful burning down of a government building? Because that doesn't happen at all.
Yes.
That's filthy, horrible lies. That's just factually incorrect.
Also, how can you burn down a building non-violently?
That's true. That's another point. Yeah, I thought that. So a lot of the books we've read, whatever else you can say about them, they do what they say on the tin. So Pounded by the Pound, you read that if you want to watch steamy sex between a sentient pound coin and a person, right? It did what it said it was going to do. Well, who doesn't exactly? But this book completely failed to deliver on its promises, even the really naff promises that the title and the blurb suggested. It just completely did not deliver. There was no Antifa, there was no romance. I genuinely feel like this. I feel a bit sort of angry and like I've been lied to, having read the end of this book, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were lied to about the fact that there's no romance. There is no Antifa.
Yep.
He's not Antifa.
He's not.
It's not Steamy. There is a
No.
riot in which she sustains a scratch to the arm and therefore passes out and has to go and spend a week at his house to recover.
Just wait. I will wait.
Okay, you're going to hold it in. All right. Okay, Liz.
That's good because you were really glitching out and it couldn't actually tell what you were saying.
Okay, great. So what were you expecting with this book, with that title and that blurb? What were you expecting?
Well, I thought we were going to be treated to another of our classic, quite disturbing, badly written sex scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I was looking forward to that, but I did feel a bit, yeah, like you said, the concept lover does imply, you know, just some emotionally charged chats. Would have been better than just watching documentaries together while they stayed in the same house. I think
watched a documentary whereby the tiger breaks its legs.
Yes.
Everyone else concerned by that.
About? Yeah.
Because it was running too fast.
I think that was an attempt at symbolism, but I think it failed. When she was like, I do believe you, I do think the tiger broke his legs by running too fast. I think it's like an Icarus flying too close to the sun kind of deal, that we're supposed to think that something is going too fast, when really the whole thing was quite a lot slower than it should have been.
Interesting.
Yeah, I expected it to be more kind of politically no, the word's gone. Polarized, where it's like her versus him, their politics. Whereas actually, I mean, never mind her politics, where someone should do a rundown of what the actual...
Yeah, we should probably go through the actual plot, maybe.
Okay. So, well, that's kind of like my next question, really.
Oh, which
Oh, no, it's absolutely fine. Sorry, Paul, what were you expecting with this book?
Well, I think the same as those guys, like coming fresh off kissing the coronavirus. I could have read a chapter about some senator woman getting it on with one of the rioters who like stormed the Capitol building, or that kind of level of nonsense. I mean, I will admit I was a bit confused about who Antifa were and their relationship to other groups, and so I didn't know that they weren't the ones who stormed the thingy. But so my expectations were a bit confused by my own lack of political knowledge. But yeah, that's the kind of level I was expecting.
Just on what you said, Paul,
yes,
has that book been written? Because if not, I think we found our niche to break into the weird novelty.
Nancy Pelosi and the rioter that was killer.
Yeah.
Instead of killing each other, they look directly into one another's eyes, realise that love surpasses politics. Steamy romp on the Congress floor.
Yeah. See, that would have been
next week.
A better book.
Perfect.
I think. Yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but that is a story. This was not.
This is not the story. Okay. So I think we probably need to get into the plot.
I'm just
going to ask you. Hello, Bertie. I'm going to ask Bertie this one.
Yep.
What was your favourite inconsistency in the plot?
Bertie.
Great question.
Bertie.
Mine, the big one has to be, you know how she goes to her nice quiet spot where behind in the woods behind the school that she used to go to.
Yeah.
In Seattle, where it very clearly and regularly states that she moved from Nashville when she became a congressperson to Seattle. So,
but it only took her 20 minutes to get from Seattle to Nashville.
Yeah. To the school
that's where the school was.
They just forgot the fact that he didn't go to but yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favourite inconsistency, Bertie told me while I was on mute that he thought it was his favourite too. And he's just having a nice need of my bladder, because that's always lovely for both.
He's having a baby inside of you. Plenty of bladder needing.
So my favourite one was, I think one of the big ones was that there's a bill that's going through Congress which starts off quite a lot of plot. So she initially does support this, but then maintains throughout the rest of the book that she never supported it.
Mhm.
But my favourite part of it is that they suggested like there was a backstory. So the bill in question was that to tackle the 80% divorce rates in America, if a man wanted to divorce his wife, he had to pay her $1 million. So she signs off on this bill, and she says it's in part because of what happened to her sister. And I really wanted to know what happened to her sister. I think it says for personal reasons the first time, then it references it again, her sister. And then it goes into an achingly long description.
Hang on, the cat just muted you.
He doesn't want me to talk anymore. Yeah, in which it clearly mentions that she only has a brother and parents.
The sister is never mentioned again.
That's true.
Never mentioned again.
Yeah, and then the entire rest of the book, she's like, no, I never liked this bill. I can finally go with my conscience and say I never liked this bill.
But one of the things I highlighted as my one of my favourite quotes is her saying, you know, if you I can't find it now, but basically, I go, I furrowed my eyebrows. I just love the way this woman talked. I furrowed my eyebrows when I realised how men were extremely against this law. I was informed that this would happen, but not to this intensity. In my head, it seemed like no big deal. If you don't want to be with someone, don't marry them. Whoa! I mean, groundbreaking stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have a favourite inconsistency?
Mine was the same as Helen's. The coming out straight. I'd forgotten about the brother-sister thing. That's a good one as well. But no, the whole coming out in support of this bill and then suddenly changing her mind halfway through.
Yeah.
I do have a theory as to why that is, actually.
Unless
go on then.
Unless the brother-sister thing is actually her sister is now her brother, and we create an entire new like transgender plot, like subplot.
In which case,
but somehow divorce contributed to this.
Which is why if that's the case, I formally apologise for my participation in erasure of that story. But I will say it could have been more explicit.
Could have been. So
or even a tiny bit explicit would be good.
Even in the book.
Yeah, or even exist.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul, go on.
Yeah, my theory as to why why you've got those two inconsistencies between like the first chapter and the rest of it is that she wrote 90% of this book to be completely generic, because if you remember, the actual details of the bill are not mentioned after the first chapter. It's always just referred to as the bill, and they're arguing about the bill, and she doesn't like the bill, but everyone else does. And it's never explained again that it's about divorce rates. So I reckon she wrote 90% of this book to be completely generic to whatever issue she wanted, and then went back and wrote the first chapter about some hot contentious issue, and then just...
So if we go and find her book, that's My Proud Boy Lover, it's exactly the same 90% was just a different first chapter.
Maybe, or even she just wrote it ahead of time, thinking, I'm going to bank this one in reserve, and then when some big issue comes along, I'm going to scribble together a first chapter and release it and say it's written in response to some big issue of some kind.
I like that as a theory, especially because it turns out she's written 1, 2, 3, 4 other books, which I will not be reading. I did just think of another inconsistency that I think deserves an honourable mention, which is the inconsistent use of tense.
Oh, yes, very good, very good. Yeah.
I have never really experienced sentences that started in the past, went into the present, and then occasionally moved into the future past, which I didn't think existed. It was a lot. It was quite hard to keep track of.
Yeah,
really.
That's true. I just thought of another little inconsistency, or I sort of did, but I've now forgotten it again because I sort of half thought it.
Well,
no. Yeah,
my
that's it.
Thing.
Oh no, go on.
Go on then.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. So the inconsistency between what she depicts as the divorce percentages and the reality of what divorce percentages are. Okay. So she in the book claims that I think she says something like 90% of all divorces are started by the husband. And that sounded a little iffy to me, so I did a little bit of Googling. and found some articles on the actual statistics, and that's not in any way true. That's literally not true. The divorce rate, the percentages are, according to Psychology Today, which is a reasonably reputable journal of research and things, it's 70% initiated by women, in fact. So that is, in fact, not true, and it took me less than a minute to find that out. So
there you go. You think, she strikes me as quite I don't think she's a millennial. I think she's younger than that, maybe Gen Z. And I think they should be fairly good at Googling stuff by now. Mine is, it's not an inconsistency, but just one fact she got so stunningly wrong. The Congress is in Seattle. No. And also, what the hell is a Congress House?
Well, is Seattle in Washington, D.C.?
No, Seattle is in Washington, the state.
Okay.
And Washington, D.C. is somewhere else.
It's in Maryland.
That's so good.
Oh gosh, did she get Washington the state and Washington D.C. mixed up?
Washington the state and Washington D.C. completely mixed up.
Oh god.
What the hell is a Congress
so
House?
good.
Like, it makes no sense.
No.
And what is she even doing there? What is her job?
She just shows up and votes on one bill and then
One
has
bill.
to attend
What I don't
meetings.
get is after they voted on the bill and it's gone through Congress, then she starts petitioning Congress and having a go and changing her mind and stuff. But why there's no point in petitioning Congress now that it's passed through Congress?
Yeah. Too late, mate. Too late. It's absolutely brilliant. So this bill is that if the couple want to get divorced, the man must pay the woman $1 million.
Only if he initiates the divorce.
Okay. So
I didn't realise the law was that nuanced. Interesting.
as our token married couple, I've got to ask, Liz and Paul,
Yep.
would you? You didn't even have to think, did you?
Well, Paul and I had this discussion earlier, and he was glad
Okay.
it happened before we were on here because it made him look like a moron.
So I'm really
Paul's
glad
like,
you're sharing it now.
He's like, we should totally divorce because then we get £1 million.
I had
No. You have to pay me £1 million. We have a joint bank account.
Yeah.
So
I thought there was some way we could financially game it in order to basically just divorce and then remarry and get £1 million. I hadn't thought it fully through. I will admit. But
as a resident divorced person, Helen Ganny, what do you think of this?
I would have been fine with him paying me £1 million. And if it was a possibility, I'm willing to get married again. And then just be as annoying as possible and get him to divorce me.
That's true. How to get a divorce in 10 days.
that's a film right there. That's a great plot line.
Yeah. I would totally get married to get divorced. Boom, I'm a millionaire. Does mean we would end up with a lot of bankrupt men.
But what I don't get as well is it's also, if we're talking kind of, well, assuming that if he's Antifa, she must have been Republican, is what I'm assuming, is because
there's no mention of parties
mentioned in any way.
It doesn't. I mean, it's not mentioned. No politics is mentioned in any way.
No.
But my assumption was it must be a right-wing bill for it to be controversial to the left-wingers. I know this is, very. Who knows? But I don't think the right wing would take it though, because whole feminism and it empowering women and all that. Now, men shouldn't have to pay to divorce their wives.
Yeah, it was weird the way they kind of set that up. Like they were men's rights activists, but they kind of feel like they were probably being more reasonable than the party. Which I've never said that about men's rights activists.
I think you just banned it.
Don't think I ever would.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, kind of had some sympathy. I still think they could have picked slightly different methods and maybe done something before it was about to pass through Congress, despite seemingly no one approving it in any way.
Okay, so I think it's time for favourite quotes.
Favourite quotes? Oh,
favourite quotes. I had so many.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like, being able to narrow it down was so hard. This whole book is my favourite quote. It's on so many levels, it's terrible. On so many levels, in so many ways, especially when she comes to describing things.
Oh man, if you've taken the one that's mine, I'm going to be upset on this.
Okay, well, you go first then.
Does yours involve potatoes?
No, it does not. It
I think
nearly
you go
involved potatoes because I loved that one, but go on.
Mine is where she describes someone looking pale as a potato. And if I have to think of a pale thing, it isn't a potato. Like, potatoes are fairly brown on the outside. Like, you look at a potato and you think tan.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really liked that description, like pale as a potato.
It's a valid point.
Valid point.
Can't argue with
Yeah.
Even inside potatoes are kind of yellowy. Like, I wouldn't, like...
Kind of yellowy and a bit sweaty looking.
But most like a potato is brown.
If it's cooked.
No, but the outside of a potato is brown.
What about mashed potato?
Okay. Mashed potato, yeah.
Pale as mashed potato, that's pale.
Pale as a mashed
That's pretty
potato.
pale.
It's pretty
no
pale.
alliteration, so that's not cool anymore.
Unless it's Liz's mashed potato, because she keeps the skin in, and so it's got a bit of a sort of darker texture to it.
Oh,
You've still got the fibre.
Rustic mash.
skin complexion like a mashed potato.
Mm-mm.
We have our first comment of the episode. My mum says.
Oh, exciting!
My mum says, "Pale as a potato, I like it." Thanks, Mum.
Great. Yeah, we like it too.
Mummy Anne's allowed back to listen to the podcast now we're not talking about.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah. See, of all the books we've read, this is definitely one to like allow the parents to listen in on because it totally fails you on every level for romance and steamy and
chaste, really, isn't it?
Chase. They have a little kiss and that's it. I mean, spoiler alert, they have a little kiss.
About 95% of the way through.
Yeah.
The quotes I'd highlighted are all to do with the plot, which I don't think are going to make sense without it. And we didn't actually tell people what happened yet.
Go on, give us a quick rundown.
Well, not much happened, so it shouldn't take too long. So, basically, what is even her name? I've forgotten it already.
Alexandria?
Oh my word, it's not styled after AOC, is it?
Oh, maybe.
The description is AOC, like beautiful, petite, dark-haired woman.
Yeah.
Oh, poor AOC.
Maybe.
Oh.
I think this is AOC fanfic.
I bet that exists. I'm 100% sure that exists.
It will exist.
Paul goes on Google.
To find it. So, our pal Alexandra, AOC, whatever you want to call her, she gets home from this bill that we have talked about after voting yes for the bill, men should pay women. And she goes to a park and she runs into one of the protesters who'd asked her a question. They'd had like a bit of a moment. And he was like, oh, have you ever tried talking to someone about how you feel about anything? And she was like, no, I am a congresswoman, therefore I'm allowed no other life, and I haven't spoken to anyone since I moved to Seattle. And so he gave his number. And she didn't call him until her house was being rioted. People were throwing things through the windows. She was being mobbed by the protesters. Which, point on this, she does have a head of security who I really think needs to lose his job because he like they smash her windows in and she gets like cut up, but she thinks it's this guy, so she calls him up and she's like, and then he like bursts in, gets rid of the protesters, saves her life. She goes to hospital for a few days and then stays with him for 3 days in an entirely platonic like documentary watching fest. So he got her out of the protesters by saying that she didn't stand for the bill. And by this point, she's decided that she never stood for it and she doesn't know why she ever signed it. Her conscience is calling
right
her.
there, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's accurate. So then she turns up at Congress and says, no, we shouldn't do this. And he gets voted out. We should say, actually, this guy's name is Corner.
I thought that was a typo. I genuinely thought that was a typo first.
I think if you could change name all, in change word all, and tried to put Connor, and it had autocorrected to Corner.
Yeah. That was one of my favourite parts when it was like, my name is Corner Smith. It's like, it's the worst thing ever. So anyway, Corner and her there's like a moment of mild intrigue in which he gets a bit weird about the head of Congress. So then he comes with her to Congress, and then it turns out he knows the person who's head of Congress. So they go on a bit of a date. This is the first time that it's even referenced that it's not platonic, by the way, this one date. And then she gets an invitation to go meet the head guy, head of Congress. So she goes to meet him, and she discovers that Corner is a fake name. Shocking. And he is actually Senate guy's son. Da-da-da-da. So she doesn't talk to him for 2 weeks. And then apparently 2 months have passed, which is a lie, given the timing in the book. But as we said, consistency is not a forte. And then she tells him not to come by her house. He just keeps turning up and then gets dragged off by a head of security. The one thing he actually did at any point. But I think he did
move security in the first place, though.
Yeah, because he asked to be let through, so he let him through. Because that's how security works. And then she gets invited to a suspicious meeting that she attends where they try and kill her by burning her alive in a building. But he very romantically, when she said, "No, I never want to see you again," attached a GPS to her car because he wanted to keep an eye on her. Because
he was stalking her the whole time.
Because he was such a romantic guy. He added the GPS to her car and turned up and saved her life.
That's how Paul wooed me.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, it's also dropped in that he was about to leave the city on business, and he just happened to check the tracker. What business is he in? What does he do?
That would be too ungeneric to specify.
Yeah, he was just leaving on business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole GPS tracker thing was just you are freaking kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! It does lead to my favourite ever bit, though. At the very end, where the guy, the head of Congress, that tries to have her killed, and it all comes out that he tries to have her killed. What did it say? I've got it highlighted.
Me too. This is one of my quotes.
He got me out of the fire and reported against his father. After he was proven guilty, Benedict Wilbur was fired from the seat of Congress as punishment. The man's manslaughter and arson.
Yeah. Corruption. Got fired.
Yeah. She was anything like that.
Everybody was in on it. So, she got invited there. There was this receptionist that told her to go upstairs.
How suspicious it is, and maybe I should have got the security guy.
Even the secretary or the receptionist knew that they were luring her in to set fire to the place just because she said she didn't like it. I know politics is a little bit bipartisan in America, but don't vote for us or we'll lure you into an abandoned building and burn you to death. That's extreme.
It's quite extreme, yeah.
The guy in the car as well.
He disappeared, doesn't he?
She just left her driver. Yeah, she got driven there, and then her driver just left her.
Roddick, that's his name.
I got so annoyed about that I had to shush myself on earlier was how bad her security detail is.
Yeah.
So this entire, Riot gets close enough to her house to start throwing rocks through her window, and then some random protester guy shows up and saves her rather than her security detail and the police, and then he lets said random protester that she's never met in her life and has no details for stay in the hospital with her, and then he lets disappear off with him, and then it's him that saves her from the fire, and this guy somehow, despite this one person versus a security detail, this one person manages to get to a door and start knocking and yelling and things like that. She's like, no, but it's a security detail.
Yeah,
so bad.
So bad.
This leads me to my favourite quote, which was in the hospital the second time when she's recovering from the fire, shortly before I think they might have just had their first kiss, maybe, and then they get married later. And then she says, "I should have listened to you," and he said, "You did. You always do. I was stupid enough to let you go that easily." So this guy considers letting her go that easily to be constant harassment, turning up at her house twice, talking her security detail into letting him into her house, even though he shouldn't be on the premises, and then putting a GPS tracker in her car. That is letting you go easily.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a stalker.
Not what you should look for in a man.
Like
Absolutely not.
the second meeting, she goes to this place, the woods, where her supposedly behind her school, and goes to like this really, random part of a lake. And then he just walks up next to her, and she's like, "You're that protester guy that locked eyes with her." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I just want you. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not stalking you." Would you believe that if you were sensible? But no.
Yeah.
You're the protester that spoke against me at the big controversial protest, and you've turned up. You're following me.
He also self-identifies as a protester in that chapter that's from his perspective.
Yeah.
So it's when he does propose, the ring is like a heart-shaped crystal that's half red and half blue. Like, that would have had me running for the hills for a start. Like, you gave me a coloured heart-shaped crystal as an engagement ring.
But with the red, with the Republican Democrat colours as well, it's just.
And she said it, yeah, because you said earlier about you assume that it's a Republican and he's Democrat, if he's Antifa. Like, oh, that just symbolises us, she says, and it's just sickening, absolutely sickening.
Pretty bad. Also, how does he know where she lives? Because you know how he turns up to rescue her. That he is totally a stalker because. She calls, cusses him out because she thinks he's at the protest, and he just turns up at the protest. So, he knows where she lives in advance. So either he was planning on being at the protest, or he's a creepy stalker.
It's pretty romantic.
And why doesn't she call the police rather than arrest her?
And who has
maybe she thought her security detail would call the police, to be fair.
What random bachelor just has, silk bed sheets as well?
Yes! Oh my gosh, that really annoyed me. He's like this confirmed bachelor, macho man, silk bedsheets. Now, to me, that says she is not the first woman he has rescued. Yeah, and taken back to his place.
It's true.
I also really loved the bit where they bonded over the fact that neither of them used their spare rooms. I mean, what a basis for a strong relationship.
Yeah.
These are the things that Paul and I, created a lasting marriage over.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and some
never using. Do you think using your spare room is a? What's the word? Double entendre? No. Euphemism. I don't use my spare room.
I'll use your spare room.
Work it out now.
Are you propositioning me? Because if you divorcing Liz for me, you have to pay her £1 million.
Ding.
Yeah, have you got $1 million?
I just want to. Sure, totes.
Sick.
I want to share one of my favourite quotes. And this is when she wasn't sure what was going on and she didn't know what to think of it.
So most of the book.
Yeah, well, yes. I already knew I wasn't in favour of the law that passed 3 days ago in that big meeting.
That big meeting.
Didn't know I'd feel so guilty. Well, clearly were at first. I couldn't figure out the answer to my questions. I had this big position and huge responsibility ahead, but I acted like it was no big deal. It was all so frustrating. I sighed and looked in the mirror. Here it is. A pale and somewhat sun-tinted face stared back at me. You can't be both! Unless she was being good, COVID times, going out with her mask on. So she was pale, but the rest of it was sun-tinted. Maybe that's what it was.
That must be it.
I think
dark black eye.
The reference because she's Latina, isn't she? So she's pale for Latina.
I don't know if it's ever
but also
mentioned that
somewhat
she's Latina.
sun-tinted.
No, but I guess it would make sense if she is just ripping off Alexander Ortiz. I can't remember the OC bit of.
Yeah.
AOC.
There's a lot of stuff about her hair.
Yeah, please read that whole quote, Helen, because I thought it was mastery.
A pale and somewhat sun-tinted face stared back at me, with her dark black eyes looking like they could kill you with their looks if they wanted to. Her dark brown hair slipped down her shoulders in light waves, and collarbones were visible as the day. She seemed like a powerful yet insecure woman when you carefully looked into her eyes. And that powerful yet insecure woman was me.
We know. You just told us you're looking in the mirror.
In
You
the
didn't need
damn
to
mirror.
reiterate.
But when she talks about her hair, it's always slipping down her face, and
It's a wig.
oh my gosh, yeah, just rubbish. I could read the whole book. The whole book is my favourite quote. Paul, we haven't had yours. Do you have one?
I mean, like you guys, I have multiple favourite quotes. I did enjoy some of his kind of musings about her as just sort of great, smooth pickup lines. So I used one of them on Liz earlier. So, Liz, you are
so good.
And boom, she's pregnant.
Liz, you are the only woman who has intrigued me enough to puzzle my mind.
That's less bad when said by you rather than the way it was written in that book.
Cheers.
It's still bad, but less bad.
Yeah. But my favourite quote was towards the beginning. So it's where she's at the kind of the press conference right at the beginning, where she's answering questions about this bill to make blokes pay $1 million to divorce their wives. And the first thing that Corner/Chris says to her is his question to her in this press conference. And we said there's a lot of there's a lot of spelling errors and missed words and typos in this book. You'd think this one quote would be one that you would get right, because it's quite important. But what the quote is, the first question that Chris says to her is, "Would you have passed this bill if you ever a man?" And I just thought that is a fantastic, quite deep question, really. So I wanted to ask you guys that same question. Would you ever... what is it? What is it? Have you ever a man? That's my question to you guys now.
Rarely.
Not for a long time. Frankly. I mean, she just doesn't
homeless man.
What?
Once by a homeless man, remember?
Oh yeah. Let's not talk about that.
And he's like, "Big issue, sir. Big issue, sir." And I turned around and I was like, and he went, "Oh, sorry, love, it was your disguise. It fooled me."
Oh,
beautiful.
Devastated.
Yeah.
Devastated. Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic quotes from this. A lot of them are just typos. So when she meets Corner Smith officially for the first time, it says, "I shook his hand out of courtesy."
Yes.
Which is a nice one.
And then a little further down that page, it says, "My blood started to boil to 1,000 degrees." What does he mean I looked great? I was standing there to serve a purpose, because I have the responsibility of the law upon my goddamn head. I don't think you do, love.
No.
I mean, I have to say, all of these books we've read so far, I've been a bit like, they're terrible. This is what we do, but I wouldn't recommend them. This one I would recommend just because it's so frustrating in so many ways.
Yeah.
So, do we think that Alexandria went on a curve? Did she have a story arc?
She does not learn any lessons.
Well, she goes from supporting the bill to not supporting the bill, so that's an arc.
Yeah, guess so.
But I don't know if I can really count it as an arc, because she denied that it ever happened. I think that that's just like complete misinterpretation of the events. Like, if she'd come to a realization that actually, her perspective wasn't like a full perspective and she grew from it, that would be different. But one page was in support of it because of her sister. The next page shouldn't have a sister, and she'd never support the bill. I don't know if I can call that an arc.
Maybe she has like severe like personality disorder. Not personality disorder. The one where you've got multiple personalities.
Yeah.
So she switches back. And then like a month later, she's suddenly going to realise that she really was in favour of that, and she's messed up her entire political career.
Well, that's going to mess up our marriage.
Yeah.
She's going to make sure that he has to
pay her to get out of it.
No, only if she files for divorce, I guess not. So it's going to just end up with loads of men being really horrific to their wives, so that their wives file for divorce and they don't owe $1 million.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I've always said that, murder is cheaper than divorce anyway. So maybe that's
true.
Maybe that's what this is promoting. Okay, I have one final question, and then Paul, I think you said you have a question as well.
Oh no, my question was, have you ever a man? That was all it was.
Oh, have you ever a man? Brilliant. Okay, so I have one final question. If Jessica Stranger was watching, and you got a chance to ask her one question to resolve one thing in the book, what would it be?
Why did you do this to me?
I would, my question to resolve the spelling and typo and tense issues would be, please can I proofread your book for you? Just give me, a day and, an editable document version and we're good.
Good.
I don't know if it would take you a whole day. It's not that long, is it?
No.
Step 1, find a replaced corner for Connor, presumably.
I do love how his dad's like, stupid name, Corner. Intentional.
Yeah.
It's actually funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, what would you ask her?
Are you enjoying the £2.30 you conned out of us under false pretenses?
I think should have gotten all of the £2.30.
That's true.
Yep.
If one day this podcast is famous enough that the authors that we review listen to the podcasts, I'm really sorry. We've just been really mean about your book.
No.
I'm not that sorry.
I'm not sorry. Also, if you read the reviews, people are a lot meaner than us.
Okay, I don't feel bad.
People are a lot meaner than us.
Also, feel like he's sulking.
Sorry?
He's been sat there for ages, just completely sulking and ignoring me.
Are you talking about me? Are you talking about me or the rat? Sorry.
Beowulf.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
I think my question, well, first of all, I would have two. One would be, who hurt you? That this is what you do with yourself. And my other question, I think, would be, I just want to know what happened to the sister.
Yeah.
What happened to the sister?
I think I know what happened to the sister. It's that she forgot that she existed. But I mean, we can maybe pretend that there is a deep underlying plot.
Maybe. And that's all my questions about this book. I don't think I will read any of the others that she's written.
No.
But this is going to stay with me
just to see if she's done what Helen Hyons thought she might have done. Was it Paul? It was Paul who thought that they just changed the first chapter.
Yeah, because the other book
are that book, but with a different chapter.
They are basically the same book. Proud Boys' Capital Punishment. These boys are ready to stand by and undress. Antifa versus Proud Boys, The Battle for My Heart. Oh, she does love a colon. Not my president, but my lover, colon, who could really resist. My billionaire stud eater Musk.
About because if
Donald
it's
Trump.
If it's Obama, it's like,
no, it's Trump.
Fair enough, I can resist, but
No.
The tagline is "Lust trumps all."
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
A chance encounter brings her to a hunky man who can satisfy her every need. None other than the 45th United States President, Donald Trump.
I don't think Donald Trump
Through
has
a
ever
series
satisfied
of wet and wild
any
encounters, Trump helps her to experience an awakening of her body and soul. Sexually.
I wonder whether that one contains any sex.
Probably doesn't.
Like, Trump helps her to experience an awakening of her body and soul. Full stop. New sentence. Sexually. Like we needed the explanation.
I mean, if it's anything like this book, though, it's not going to feature Donald Trump or any romance of any kind.
Or any
sex.
No.
Oh my gosh.
They're watching Tiger documentaries.
Yeah.
My billionaire stud Elon Musk. Our love blasted off to Mars.
Beautiful.
That's the other one. I disagree with what you said earlier, though, Helen, when you said that this is the one that you would recommend to others. I just think my problem with this one is that the only thing original about it was its use of tense. I just really struggled with, like, it didn't feel like it was written to be funny or written to be, like, bizarre, which I can kind of tolerate. I think what I've learned from reading this is that I have a higher tolerance for weird, disturbing content than dull, predictable content.
Agreed.
And also, especially if it's badly written.
Yep, definitely. Yeah,
I'm just reading some of the reviews for the Trump book.
Oh.
And it's saying here she's no Chuck Tingle, and as we know, Chuck Tingle is the author of other such amazing books like Pounded by the Pound.
But it's a great book.
Wow. So
what was the one about Monday?
Oh, Pounded by Monday.
Yeah, we still need to read Harriet Porber, Trans Wizard Harriet Porber, and the Bad Boy Parasophilus.
I don't want to. Don't make me read it.
Well, I think Paul's got our next book lined up, hasn't he? So you're going to reveal it to us on air.
I was going to, yeah.
This time.
That says a lot, though. If someone said that this is lower down the pecking order than Chuck Tingle, I think that's quite something.
I think it's a fair review.
Do you think this book would have been better with some steamy sex scenes in it? Would it have improved it for you?
Yes.
I think something would have happened.
It would have been more in keeping with the title as well.
Yeah, it would have delivered on its promises at least. Yeah, I think so.
All right, okay. I'm gonna have to let this book go out of my life, but I think it's gonna live rent free for a while. Okay. Paul, put us out of our misery. What's our next one?
Okay, we do just have one comment before I do the grand reveal. We do have one comment. So
exciting!
It's from my brother. He just as we were listing the other books by Jessica Stranger, he just said, "Well, I've got Liz's birthday present sorted." So you're not done with Jessica Stranger yet, Liz.
Lucky you, Liz.
You can tell us all about it. All right, so the next book that we're going to be reading is hopefully a bit of a change in direction. So I saw this at my friend's house the other day, and based on the title alone, I was like, "This is our next book."
Perfectly COVID friendly. We are bubbled, and it's allowed.
Thank you.
Stick to the rules, guys.
Good clarification.
It's good to have a COVID disclaimer.
Stay at home, save lives, y'all. But the name of this book is... let me just find the information on it. So the book is called The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil by Stephen Collins.
Okay, I like it.
I'm just finding the blurb now. I haven't read the blurb. I know nothing about this book except the title, and I just thought, yes, this is our book.
It's the same as for most of the other books that we've read.
Which is, that's about in keeping with the amount of research we do. Okay, so the blurb says, "On the button-down island of Here, all is well, by which we mean orderly, neat, contained, and, moreover, beardless. Or at least it is, until one famous day when Dave, bald but for a single hair, finds himself assailed by a terrifying, unstoppable monster. Asterisk. We mean a gigantic beard, basically. Back to the main thing. Where did it come from? How should the islanders deal with it? And what, most importantly, are they going to do with Dave?" And that is...
Well, I'm gripped.
Yeah.
It is on Kindle.
Okay.
It's like £8.
Well,
did you say you've got a hard copy?
And then we'll pass it like stick it through your letterbox, and then you can pass it on to Helen Hyman's.
£8's a bit over our budget, mate. Like, this is even split
We're
between
so
the
cheap.
three of us. It's a big ask. But I've had at least one person who has read this book say that it's good. So that's a greater recommendation than we've. No, but then again,
that's not true. Someone said The Adventures of Gingerbread Willie was.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that. Yeah. So.
And that's still my bottom of the pile in the rankings.
Are you no longer friends with that person, Helen?
Oh no, it's Liz with Gingerbread Willie. I am still friends with them. I'm not taking any further book recommendations, though.
No.
You should buy them some books for Christmas or birthday, just so they realise what books can be.
Yeah. Brilliant.
They might be the person that got me into the idea of the podcast to begin with, because they posted the bump for Harriet Poor Trans Wizard and all of that on like Facebook, and I'm like, oh my word, that looks awful. I have to read it. And then someone else posted The Haunted Vagina and the information for that, and I'm like, oh my word, these things exist. And then, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, we have actually read The Haunted Vagina, which is the first book we read, and we decided that we were going to ease into things. I cannot believe we allowed Sausagey Santa to be reviewed before The Haunted Vagina.
That's a good point. I actually never got around to reading The Haunted Vagina, but maybe we should do that soon.
Because it is, I think actually it's a higher quality than than a lot of stuff we've read.
Bits of The Haunted Vagina I quite liked, and it was a lot less vagina-y than you would think it is.
Yeah.
There you go, that's my review.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need to do it now. We've got it covered. We could always do like a
there's so much more.
We could always do like a quick fire round of sort of books that didn't quite make the cut for a full episode. Like, I don't know, at the end of season 1 of our run of podcasts, we could
We're
do
going
like
to seasons.
Oh yeah,
seasons.
Yeah, it's coming out on DVD.
And I think I'll be happy to do a full episode on The Haunted Vagina.
I would like to steer us away from that kind of content if I could. Like, I'm not saying. I mean, we can dip back into it at some point.
I just remembered. The worst thing though is I was telling my work colleagues on WhatsApp on a group chat that we'd started this book club and that was going to be the first book, and then I just posted to our group WhatsApp chat the information for The Haunted Vagina, not realizing that an entirely new colleague that had never met me was part of the WhatsApp chat and not part of the Zoom call, and so the first thing they ever knew about me was just me randomly on my work group chat posting about The Haunted Vagina.
Nice.
That to me says everything anybody would ever need to know about you.
Yeah,
I think it's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that probably wraps us up.
Mm-hmm.
The My Antifa Lover by Jessica Stranger is available on Kindle if we haven't put you entirely off it. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with the very terrible beard.
The gigantic beard that was evil.
The gigantic beard that was evil. There you go. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Will you grow a beard for the occasion, Paul?
Who are you asking? Oh, me. 2 weeks is a bit of an ask. If I stop shaving now, I don't think anyone will be able to tell over the camera.
Oh, come on! If I stop shaving now, I'll have a beard in 2 weeks.
I've got the 4 really long hairs that grow out the side of my face now.
Well, who has a beard? It'd just be good if someone did.
If somebody had a beard. Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Actually, no, I won't shave for 2 weeks, and
I can just keep it on. It's fine. It won't show over the camera.
Yeah, we can do
just
something.
Give you a good kind of Tony Stark.
Oh, my mum says the beard book is one for Trelawney, which is my brother's Twitch name, because he has a beard. I don't know if it's gigantic or evil, but he does.
I think all beards are evil.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Guess so.
Well, that's. We will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, I'll be back at work by then.
Ooh.
You're coming back to work.
I'm going to end this so that we can actually talk about.
Okay, just end it. Yeah.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching. And.